I didn't answer her right away. Her words didn't feel like a question. They didn't even feel like a warning. She said them the way someone talks about the weather, like it was something that had already happened and would happen again whether anyone cared or not. Some roads don't let go easy. I stared down at my coffee and let the steam rise. The diner noise settled back in around us, silverware clinking, a low conversation somewhere near the counter. Normal sounds. Donna didn't look at me again. She kept her hands wrapped around the mug like she was warming them, even though the place wasn't cold. I took a slow drink. It tasted burnt. Too strong. I didn't mind. I asked her how long she'd been coming through here. She shrugged without lifting her shoulders. Long enough. That was all she said. I nodded like that meant something specific. Out on the road, it usually does. A pause stretched between us. Not uncomfortable, just unhurried. I noticed then that she hadn't asked me anything yet. Not where I was headed, not what I was hauling, not even my name. That stood out. Most people start with those. She watched the window instead. Outside, headlights swept across the glass and moved on. Another truck pulling through. She waited until the light was gone before speaking again. You see it the first time, she said, and you tell yourself it's nothing. She said it quietly, like she didn't want the words to travel. I kept my voice low when I answered. I said I told myself that. She nodded once. Second time, she went on, you think you're tired? Third time, you stopped lying to yourself. She finally looked at me then, not hard, not testing, just checking. I didn't argue. I didn't tell her she was wrong. I asked her if she'd seen it too. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she set her mug down carefully, like the surface mattered. I've seen people stop, she said. That was it. She didn't say where, didn't say when, just that. The waitress passed by and refilled my cup without asking. Donna waved her off. Didn't want more. I asked Donna if anyone ever talked about it. She shook her head. Not after, she said. I waited. She didn't add anything. I asked her what she meant by after. She picked her mug back up and took a small sip. After you realize it's paying attention, she said. The words settled between us. Paying attention. I felt that quiet weight in my chest again. The same one I'd felt when the light stayed with me longer than it should have. I asked her how she knew when to leave. That got a reaction. Not surprise, not fear, just a faint tightening around her eyes. You leave when it lets you, she said, and if it doesn't? She held my gaze for a second longer than before. Then she looked back to the window. Then you don't come back the same. I didn't push her after that. The diner felt smaller once those words were out in the open. Not tighter, just more aware of itself. Donna stared out the window like she was watching for something that wasn't there yet. I wrapped my hands around the cup and let the warmth sink in. I asked her if anyone ever tried to explain it. She shook her head slowly. People don't want explanations, she said. They want permission. Permission for what? I asked. To believe it happened, she said, and permission to forget it afterward. That felt right in a way I didn't like. I asked her how long she stayed around places like this. She smiled then. Not amused. More like remembering something old. Long enough to know which roads to take slow, she said. I asked her if this was one of them. She didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded napkin, smoothed it once on the table. There was a faint stain on it. Coffee, maybe, or something older. Some nights, she said, the road wants company. Other nights, it just wants to be noticed. She pushed the napkin back toward herself and folded it again. I asked her what this night wanted. She glanced at the clock above the counter. That depends on how much time you give it, she said. A truck rumbled past outside, headlights washing over the diner again. Donna flinched. It was small, almost nothing, but it was there. I asked her if she was heading back out tonight. She hesitated. Maybe, she said, maybe not. That answer bothered me more than a no would have. I told her I was thinking about driving on, not stopping, not testing anything, just putting miles between me and that stretch of road. She nodded slowly. That works sometimes, she said, sometimes. I asked her when it doesn't. She looked back at me then, really looked. When the road decides it hasn't seen enough of you yet. I felt the weight of that settle in. The diner door opened and closed again. Cold air rushed in, then out. Donna finished her coffee and set the mug down. If you're going back out there, she said, don't rush it. I asked her what she meant. She stood up, gathering her coat. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. Rushing makes it curious, she said, and curiosity is worse than hunger. She straightened and slid her chair back in. I asked her if I'd see her again. She paused. If you do, she said, it means you stayed too long. Then she walked toward the door without looking back. I watched her leave. The diner felt louder after she was gone. Not busier, just louder. I sat there a while longer, staring at the reflection of the lights in the window. Outside, the lot was dark. The road waited beyond it. And for the first time, I wasn't sure who was supposed to make the next move. I paid and stepped back out into the night. The air felt cooler than it had before. Not colder, just clearer. The truck sat where I'd left it, dark and quiet, a solid shape in the lot. I climbed up into the cab and closed the door behind me. For a moment, I just sat there, hands on the wheel, key still in my pocket. I could hear other trucks idling farther away, the low, familiar rumble of engines settling in for the night. Normal sounds. I started the engine and let it idle. The dash lights came on, steady, predictable. I pulled out of the lot slowly and eased back onto the highway. The road opened up in front of me like it always does. 2 lanes, clear lines. I kept my speed down, not crawling, just unhurried. Donna's words stayed with me. Don't rush it. The first few miles passed without anything happening. No sign, no glow. I let myself relax a little. The radio murmured quietly, just enough to fill the space without demanding attention. I drove like that for a while, watching the road bend and straighten. Then the sign appeared. Same lean, same scuff. I didn't feel surprised this time. I passed it and kept going. The clock ticked forward. 1:27. Time was still moving. That mattered. The road dipped slightly and rose again. That's when I noticed the light. It wasn't off to the side this time. It was farther back, deeper into the trees, like it had learned. I stayed in my lane and let it slide past in the mirror. It didn't linger as long as before. That felt intentional. I drove on, another sign, then another, each one spaced evenly like they were measuring something. I slowed just a touch, not enough to stop, enough to acknowledge it. The glow appeared again, closer now, still not on the shoulder, still watching. I felt that quiet pull in my chest again, not fear, recognition. I remembered what Donna had said about staying too long, about curiosity. I took my foot off the accelerator for a moment. The truck slowed. The glow held steady. I pressed back down. The glow faded. That was new. I tested it again, eased off. The glow strengthened, pressed forward. It dimmed. I kept my breathing slow. This wasn't a chase, it was a conversation. And for the first time, I understood something clearly. The road wasn't trying to stop me, it was trying to see how I'd move. I stayed with that rhythm for a while. Ease off. Press forward. The glow answered each time, not immediately, not dramatically, just enough to let me know it was paying attention. I thought about stopping, not pulling over completely, just slowing enough to see what would happen. Donna's voice came back to me then. Rushing makes it curious. Curiosity is worse than hunger. I kept my speed steady. The signs continued. Not closer together, not farther apart. Consistent. That consistency was the most unsettling part. I wasn't being led somewhere. I was being measured. The road curved gently to the right. Trees pressed in closer. The radio crackled once, then settled. I didn't touch it. I focused on the space ahead of the hood, on the feel of the wheel under my hands. Another sign passed. I didn't look at it. I didn't need to. The glow returned again, closer than before. Not beside the road, almost parallel, like it had adjusted its expectations. I slowed slightly. The glow held. I slowed a little more. The glow brightened. I pressed forward again. It dimmed. I felt a strange calm settle in, not relief, understanding. This wasn't about where I was going. It was about whether I would let the road decide how I moved. I kept my speed steady, didn't rush, didn't hesitate. The glow faded back into the trees. It didn't disappear completely. It just stepped aside. The signs stopped appearing after that. The road opened up again. The trees thinned. The radio voice changed to another song without distortion. I checked the clock. 1:49. Time was still moving. That mattered more than anything else. I drove another 20 miles without seeing the light again. I didn't relax. I stayed aware. When I finally took the next exit, it felt like a decision I'd been allowed to make. I pulled into a small rest area and shut the truck down. The silence there was different. Neutral. I sat for a while before climbing into the sleeper. As I lay there, staring up at the ceiling, one thought kept returning. The road hadn't tried to stop me. It had just wanted to know if I would stop myself. I slept lightly, not badly, just shallow enough to notice when I drifted too far. The truck settled around me as the night cooled. Metal ticking, a faint hiss somewhere nearby. Normal sounds. Still, every time I shifted, I expected to see light through the trees when I opened my eyes. I didn't. Morning came slow and gray. I sat up and listened before moving. Nothing felt wrong. That bothered me. I dressed, climbed back into the cab, and checked the mirrors. The lot looked ordinary, a few trucks pulling out, a few still shut down. I rolled back onto the road once the sun had fully cleared the horizon. Daylight changes things. It always has. The trees looked thinner now, less intentional. The road signs were different. New shapes, different lettering. I watched them pass without tightening my grip on the wheel. The radio stayed clear. I told myself that was the end of it. That nights like that don't carry over once the sun's up. That's what most people believe. It worked for a while. Later that afternoon, I passed a sign that leaned just a little to the right. Not the same one. I knew that. Different numbers. Different road. Still, I felt my foot ease off the accelerator without meaning to. I didn't slow much, just enough to acknowledge it. The feeling passed. That night, I didn't see the glow again, not once, no repetition, no signs lining up. I drove until I was tired and shut down without thinking twice. But something had changed. I didn't look at the road the same way anymore. I noticed how it curved, how it narrowed, how it opened up. I noticed how some stretches felt indifferent and others felt patient. I thought about Donna, about the way she'd said some roads don't let go easy. I understood now that she hadn't meant they hold on forever, just that they remember. And once you know that, once you feel it, measuring how you move, you don't get to go back to thinking the road is just pavement and lines. You learn to drive with intention, not fear, not caution, awareness. Because some nights, the road isn't trying to stop you at all. It's just waiting to see if you'll stop yourself